During the 13th apparition on the 2nd of March 1858, the lady asked Bernadette to go to the priest to ask him to build a church. The lady repeated her request the next day. Father Peyramal joked with Bernadette, asking if she had the money to build this church. When Bernadette said she didn't, he said that he didn't either. On the 25th of March, the lady tells Bernadette that she's the Immaculate Conception. As soon as Father Peyramal heard these words, he knew that Bernadette wasn't inventing the story to seek attention. The dogma of the Immaculate Conception had only been proclaimed 4 years earlier in 1854 by Pope Pius IX. There was no way that Bernadette could have come up with these words herself, so he knew that Bernadette must have heard this title from a higher source. Upon hearing the lady's title, Bishop Laurence set about planning the construction of the church requested by the lady. The obvious plan was to build the church around the grotto, but this idea was quickly abandoned. The decision was made that the new church should be built at the summit of the rock, thus crowning the grotto of Massabielle in a way. Work began on the site of the Church of the Immaculate Conception in 1862. Monsignor Laurence passed away before the construction of the church was completed, and so it was his successor who blessed and opened it as a place of worship on the 15th of August 1871, though the spire was unfinished and it had no bell. The upper basilica now has 4 main bells encased in a bell tower measuring 70 metres high. The church's capacity is 550 people. In 1874, the new church was raised by Pope Pius IX to the rank of minor basilica. A statue of Our Lady of Lourdes, sculpted by Cabuchet, and arguably one of the nicest representations of Our Lady of Lourdes, watches over us to the left as we look at the main altar. This statue is considered to be one of the most remarkable works of art in the Sanctuary of Lourdes. Indeed, the statue of Our Lady, which leads us during the Torchlight Marian procession, is an exact replica of this beautiful representation of Our Lady. On the walls of the upper basilica of the Immaculate Conception, we find many ex voto plaques in thanksgiving by pilgrims who wish to express their gratitude for graces and blessings received. There are 42 stained glass windows covering approximately 150 square metres in the upper basilica of the Immaculate Conception. The lower windows show from the first apparition on the 11th of February in 1858 through to the crowning of the statue of Our Lady in 1876. The higher windows show the dogma of the Immaculate Conception. The crypt is situated between the upper basilica of the Immaculate Conception and the Rosary Basilica. It is built into the rock above the grotto. Though the Basilica of the Immaculate Conception was the first church planned in the sanctuary at the request of the Lady, the crypt was the first chapel to be completed. On the 19th of May 1866, Mass was celebrated by Bishop Laurence for the first time in the crypt. Bernadette was present at this Mass, disguised as a child of Mary. It had already been decided that Bernadette would enter the Sisters of Charity of Nevers, and she was due to leave for Nevers shortly after the inaugural Mass. As we pass through the entrance to the crypt, on the left-hand side we see a large statue of St. Peter. This statue is a replica of St. Peter's statue in Rome. To the right-hand side is the side chapel of Saint Michel. This chapel contains the official reliquary of St. Bernadette. As we continue down the long corridor leading to the crypt, we see that the walls are completely covered in ex voto offerings of thanksgiving to Our Lady. The crypt comprises of 5 side altars, the centre altar being the main altar, and this is dedicated to Our Lady. The statue behind the altar is of Our Lady holding the child Jesus, and was sculpted by Fabiche, the sculptor who sculpted the statue of Our Lady in the niche at the grotto.